Good morning, students. We will continue chapter 2 in history, socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. Part 8. Today we will discuss about the February Revolution in Petrograd. Winter of 1917. Conditions in Petrograd were grim. Grim means unpleasant or very bad. Petrograd was the capital city. The layout of the city also clearly manifested divisions among its people. On the right bank of the river Neva, there were quarters of the workers and factories. And on the left bank of the river Neva, there were fashionable areas that included Winter Palace, official buildings, Dumas, etc. Means all the well-to-do people used to live on the left bank and the poor workers used to live on the right bank of the river Neva. February 1970. The winter was extremely severe and heavy snowfall took place all over the country. That resulted in the extreme shortage of food in the workers' quarters. They didn't have food to eat. Tsar willing to dissolve Duma. The parliamentarians, they were not agreed to the wishes of the king. 22nd February. A lockout took place at a factory. Lockout means one of the factories was shut down and the workers who were working there, they got unemployment. And in sympathy of that, to support these workers, on the next day, workers in 50 factories called a strike. Strike means they stopped work. But the wonderful thing about this strike was that these strikes were led by women. And that's why 23rd February later on came to be known as the International Women's Day. According to Gregorian calendar, International Women's Day falls on 8th March. Then workers, because their conditions were not good, so the workers left their homes and they moved to the left bank of the river where there were fashionable buildings and they surrounded the official buildings and quarters. Seeing such a situation, to control the such type of scenario, the government imposed curfew. You know that in a curfew, the movement of the people is not allowed. People are not allowed to gather together. So, by the evening, all people dispersed from there. Then, on 25th of February, the government suspended Duma. Up to now, there were no leaders of the demonstrators. But when the king suspended Duma. The political parties also came in support of the demonstrators. Then, on 27th February, the scene in the Petrograd was that the streets thronged with people, means the streets were full of the demonstrators. The king called out cavalry to control the situation. You remember what happened on the Bloody Sunday. But this time, the cavalry refused to fire or attack on the demonstrator. Instead of that, the cavalry joined the striking workers. After that, the soldiers, striking workers, formed a council known as the Soviet. And this council later on came to be known as the Petrograd Soviet. Then the representative of the Petrograd Soviets, they went to meet the king and asked him to leave the power. As the king could not do anything in such a situation, so he agreed to abdicate his powers. So the monarchy comes to an end after the February 1917 revolution. After that, a provisional government was formed to run the country. Now, let's revise what all things we have learned today. First, grim conditions of Petrograd because of the severe winter of 1917. A lockout takes place in a factory. Then, workers in around 50 factories also went on the strike. The king suspended Duma and demonstrations took place all over the Petrograd. The cavalry was called, but it refused to fire on the striking workers. Anyone joined them. The king abdicated powers and provisional government was formed. That's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.